The pandemic has been mean to us, but the pandemic can never cancel the spirit of Mardi Gras. And we're keeping it alive with our series by remembering Mardi Gras past. I'm Scoot, and if you are a political junkie, if you watch the Fox News channel, you know her face, you know her name. She is a political strategist. Fox News contributor Donna Brazile is from New Orleans. She grew up in Kenner. She went to Grace King High School, graduated from LSU, and Donna is here to share a Mardi Gras moment with us. Donna, welcome. It's great to meet you.
Who that? Who that? I really, really miss New Orleans, especially at this time of the year. There's no greater celebration, no greater experience than to be home with your family, preparing to celebrate this wonderful of seasons. As a child growing up in Kenner, my mother would often call one of her siblings or one of her cousins to come and pick up all 9 of her children. Along with my parents, we would head downtown, right off of Napoleon Avenue, where we would sit for hours. The kids brought, of course, their candy, the cotton candy, the popcorn balls.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the candy apples, roasted peanuts. My grandmother made the red beans. And of course, we had hot dogs. But once we got to the corner of Napoleon and Liberty, we were there for hours. The only time we went back to the house is it was in between the Rex and before the truck parade. So while I love Bacchus on Sunday, I love Tucson, I love all of the other parades, my favorite Mardi Gras moment was being with my family on Carnival Day, celebrating, eating, drinking, and just having a really good time.
That is such a great memory. And you know, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're from here, when you look at the calendar and you know it's Mardi Gras, you just get that Mardi Gras spirit in you, and it never goes away.
It never goes away. And you know, you're always a child. I mean, 2 years ago, I was downtown on St. Charles Avenue, not far from Gallia Hall. I was with some friends on their balcony, and here I was, of course, you know, a woman of a certain age, and there were kids on the front row, as the children should be on the front row, the adults, you know, toward the back, because, you know, we were closer to the cooler. And I found myself jumping in front of kids when I saw, you know, like the stuffed animals or, you know, even the toilet paper rolls. And I'm like, oh my God, you're almost 60. Stop it. Stop acting like a child. And of course, I was so embarrassed. I said, oh, here, I caught this for you. Crazy. I was catching it for myself. And, you know, it wasn't just being with friends and family and eating a lot. It was also the feeling you got at Mardi Gras, the feeling that you were part of something big, and that, you know, this was like the way we did it. You know, Louisiana is so special. Even up here in DC, I hold Mardi Gras parties. I used to go to the Washington Mardi Gras with Mary Landrieu, and of course, Steve Scalise. You know, I don't care who I hang out with. It's just so long that you drink wine, you know.
Well, that's the great thing about Mardi Gras, and especially, you know, over the last couple of decades when we become so isolated as individuals because of how we get information. This idea that we come together is a very comforting thought. And, you know, if you like you were talking about with your family, you know, you've got people around you that you don't know, but they become your friends. And it's like they become family for that period of time that you're at the parade.
That's my dog. Zora, you will be at the parade next year. Zora.
Well, I hope it's your dog and not something else, but you know, yeah, that's okay.
Well, I adopted her. She's one of my she's my rescue dog. And while she doesn't know this right now, she'll be at the next Mardi Gras. We've already reserved our little, you know, place for next year. Right. I told Zora that I'll make sure that she have on, because we go into the bark ball. You know, we got to show up at the bark ball. Zora thinks she is a queen and she has to, you know, really get in line. But no, Mardi Gras, I felt like something was big. I felt something was special. And you know, it's one of those holidays. I call it a holiday, of course, that you celebrate no matter where you are. So next week I will be celebrating. I will be in New York at a funeral for Cicely Tyson. Cicely loved the Mardi Gras. I will be at her funeral, and of course I intend to go down to the Apollo Theater and just roll out my own red carpet and celebrate Cicely's life, her legacy, but most importantly, celebrate Fat Tuesday.
That's great. And I love, because I've lived elsewhere as well. I'm from here, but I've lived elsewhere. And when it's Mardi Gras time, like, we're involved in it, no matter where you are, you're involved in the moment. And it does bring back all these memories that we have of this very unique experience. And it's almost impossible to use words to adequately describe Mardi Gras. It's the kind of thing you have to just experience.
You have to experience it. You know, another memory I have is when I actually got an opportunity. Well, I had an opportunity to be on St. Charles Avenue, this time near Jackson. So I was able to see, the Zulu parade. And
Yeah.
now my niece is involved. She's a part of Zulu Club. And I was in the right place at the right time. I was able to grab a lot of coconuts. And then I went over to my friend's house. I took a nap. Yes, because you stay up all night and you drink all day. And then by the time I got back on the street, guess what? I mean, Rex was starting, and then again, my favorite, the truck parades. Because when the truck parade starts, I mean, it's hours upon hours. And I think some of the best floats, I mean, of course, people love Bacchus, they love Orpheus, they love, those grand floats, but I love I just love the truck parades. And
That's great.
Yeah.
And then, because you're right, because, the parade is over, but when the trucks start, then it's like all of a sudden everything is renewed again. And like you say, for hours and hours.
And hours. And then you go and get a drink, you get some more red beans, and then you try to wind it down, because by 6 o'clock you're really tired. But you know what? I have been known to hang out until the next morning with my friends celebrating. I wasn't there last year celebrating. I left before, they told us about the year before.
And then the next time it happens, you're back. So you have this on-air persona. We're all familiar with that when you're on camera. Was there a time when Donna Brazile just kind of like really was out of control for Mardi Gras?
No, I mean, as a child, maybe no. I mean, my mother was so strict about, we all had to stand, because there were 9 of us. We had to stand almost in the order of our birth: Cheryl, Sheila, Donna, Tater, Chet, Lisa, Mitra, Kevin, Zola. We wore jeans. We wore either a sweatshirt or a turtleneck. And although we had bags to carry home all of our treasures, my mother always taught us to be respectful. But as I got older, I enjoyed walking down the street, because you can't do it nowhere else with just a can of beer or a to-go cup. And there were times people spotted me with a to-go cup, and they say, "What are you drinking?" And I'm like, "It's an adult beverage, but it's okay. I'm over 18. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, nobody should apologize for that.
Not on Mardi Gras Day. Well, Mardi Gras is not a day. It's an experience. It's a season. And as I was saying earlier, before my dog interrupted me, I celebrated here in DC. When I come home for the holidays, I go and make groceries. I make sure I have enough filet, because if I want to make gumbo, this time I was able to get from Langenstein some stuff. Boudin sausage, the older you get, you just really want everything already prepared. I got some Trinity, and there's this new Trinity that is like dried, and once you put it in warm water, it comes to life. And this weekend I'm going to make red beans and rice, because I want to celebrate it with my family, the family I have here in Washington, D.C. And I still have a lot of leftovers from last time.
Talk to me about some of your beans.
Well, I probably catch more beads than most people, but of course my favorite is LSU.
I mean, If you're stepping in front of the kids, of course you're getting more than anybody else.
I can't help myself. There's something in me that I just can't stay there and like just I have to throw me something, Mister, hey baby. And of course I flirt. Hey sugar, you the best thing that I have,
I
come
love
on.
passion.
I mean, you flirt with the people that are close. Zora May,
It's okay.
stop that.
It's
And
okay.
of course, I love my little toilet. I have my toilet paper. I have my rolls of toilet paper. But I try, and then of course everybody goes to Muse. I got so many shoes, but I love all of the little small things, and I got a lot more. But I'm putting together a little basket for the kids in the neighborhood because I will be celebrating with them on Monday before I leave for Cicely's homegoing service.
We're so divided as a country. What is it that America could learn from the concept of Mardi Gras?
Growing up in this, in the city, and we did. I mean, my family moved out to Kenner because there were 9 of us and they wanted more yard space. I always felt a bond with the people of Louisiana, a bond with my fellow New Orleanians. It's so funny, no matter what part of the city or what part of the state, when you say, I'm from Louisiana, we start talking football, we start talking family, and then of course we start talking about food and recipes. And the bond that you felt growing up is the bond that you take with you throughout your entire life. I spent just recently the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I went with Steve Scalise, and many of my friends said, well, he's a Republican. I'm like, yeah, but he's my homeboy. He's from Louisiana. He went to LSU like me. And why not? Why not find ways to celebrate our diversity, celebrate who we are? And growing up in Louisiana, you felt special. I still feel special when I tell people I am a native born Louisianian. There's something about that Gulf, that smell, the bayou, the river. I just want to be home. I miss having a debris sandwich right now. It's Friday night. I want a shrimp and oyster po' boys from Donna Lisa on Annunciation, and I want it fully dressed, and I want to go home and pop a beer and knock it down, or I want to go to Mother's when I don't feel like cooking because they know how to fry chicken. I'll go to Neal's on Bienville and now Norman Francis Boulevard. I just love the food, the people, the culture, the music. There's nothing. I love it. I mean, that's why after Katrina made landfall, I knew that it was my obligation and my duty as a native-born Louisianian to go and help my beloved home state. And when folks said to me, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to talk to George Bush. Why? Because he's the president and we need help. And I believe that. I believe that, my state, my culture, my people, my food, my family, it's all part of who we are. And that's why I love my home state.
Well, I love your enthusiasm and your passion, and it's very infectious. And I know a lot of people love seeing this side of you as well, because a lot of people don't see this side of you. So let's go back to you going to the inauguration with Steve Scalise. Without getting too serious, why did we get to the point where we are Republicans and Democrats first, and then Americans and humans second? It should be the other way around. And what you're speaking about with Steve Scalise is like you have this common denominator of both being from Louisiana, and that was more important than Democrat, Republican.
Prior to going out on the platform, we talked about family. We talked about our faith. We're both Catholics. We talked about our upbringing. And I told him that once my family knew that I was going with him, I had cousins call me and say, oh, tell him I went to Rummel. I said, really? Tell him, I mean, people who knew him. I saw him at Home Depot on Clearview. Really? I said, I mean, they were just telling me all these stories. But you're in Washington, D.C., you only know your partisanship. You don't know none of those personal stories. You don't know the people that you have in common. You don't know the things that we all enjoy. I talked to him. We talked about our families growing up, the churches that we've gone to, even the church here in D.C. that we go to. And, the best thing was that we talked about the Saints, because that was a couple of days, that was a couple of days after the Saints got there. You know what?
Yeah.
beaten by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I mean, we were upset. And President Obama, after he came down on the platform, and Mrs. Obama, the president saw us and he said, Donna, what happened to your Saints? And he was ribbing us. And and he was ribbing the congressman. And I said, remember, we beat your Bears. We beat your Bears, okay? Now leave us alone. We beat your Bears. But we sat there. And the best part of being with Steve is that we both had our targets. Like I saw A-Rod and he saw, Jennifer Lopez. I said, well, let me go and talk to A-Rod because I just want to do that. He said, okay. And then we took pictures with Lady Gaga. We were just like children together because, this is an American experience, an inauguration, a peaceful transfer of power. And we were just excited to be a part of it. So I'm grateful that he gave me his +1 ticket. Sorry, Jennifer, that's his wife. Sorry, Jennifer, I was +1 on that day. I was the +1. Okay, you can have him back now. You can have him back.
It's a great story because that's a microcosm of the way things should be. It's okay for us to have political disagreements. It's okay to be passionate about your politics, but we should remember that we're Americans first and people first, and there's things that we share in common, and we're not just divided by political ideology.
But think about it this way. This is the first inauguration where a woman, a Black woman, was being sworn in, and it was a Republican. Steve Scalise, my home state congressman, along with, well, the seat is open now, it's vacant, and I have a favorite in that race, but my home state congressman, who's in the House leadership with an office, invited me to be his +1. And he picked me up. That's a man for you. He picked me up at the Fox studio to get through the security, and he served me coffee with chicory. I walked out with some pralines, and of course, I walked out with some zaps. Because when you go to see your members, you walk out with some of the home time. I said, Steve, you better be glad I just came from home, because I was home for the holidays, and I said, I got my beans and I got my other stuff, but he hooked the girl up, okay? He gave me some stuff. I got my zaps, I got my pralines, and I got my coffee with chicory. Now that's a man for you. I have to give him some dap on that one.
So you talked about being Catholic. Is it true that you really wanted to be a priest and your mom had to break the news to you that if you're a woman, you couldn't be a priest?
I mean, look, we went to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. And, when we first started going to Mass, I was like 4 or 5. Segregation was still in practice. And so we sat in the back. And even from that vantage point, I kept thinking, I cannot wait to be a priest. I cannot wait. I love the Lord. I love the church. I still go to church every Sunday. Even during COVID, I try to make it to church. I also burn candles because, Louisiana girl got to keep her candles. Okay, I buy them by the case because you never know when somebody needs a prayer. And I like to learn, I know all of the novenas. I mean, I have my favorite saints and St. Jude and St. Martha and St. Anthony. I mean, do you know I love the church so much that I have visited Portugal because I wanted to check out where St. Anthony came from. I visited along with Mary Matlin because she's, she go to Greater St. Stephen's. I visited Italy. We've been to the Vatican together. Yeah, I love the church. I wanted to be a priest, and my mom said, "I'm sorry, but that's not for girls." And I'm like, "How come?" Because there were girls in the Bible. Mary was a girl. I didn't get it. And of course, I'm still Catholic because one day the church will get it, and I will be available.
I agree. I'm Catholic too. I go to church around the corner. I live in downtown New Orleans, and I light candles for friends and take pictures and send them the pictures of the candles that I've lit for them. So
I go to St. Patrick's when I'm home because I live around the corner. I have a place there in the city, and I live around the corner. And I go to St. Patrick's, and then I go to Merrill's or one of the restaurants, Pesh, afterwards, because when you finish Mass, you gotta make sure that they're good. I tell people, I said, look, what was Jesus' first miracle? He turned water into wine. He listened to his mother, and he got the party started.
Well, and they never give you enough of wine in church. When they were giving out the wine, it wasn't enough. It's just, it just kind of makes you in the mood for more.
You get that taste. You get that taste. And then when you leave church, now when I was a kid, we would go and get us a snowball, okay? But as an adult, I go to brunch.
Well, I could talk to you for hours, so let's do this again soon. And when we maybe get together sometime when you're in town. But before I let you go, do you have any funny stories about going to the bathroom on Mardi Gras?
Well, let's just say that that is always a challenge. But luckily, I have had some of the best experiences of finding quote unquote appropriate places to use the potty. And yes, like most Americans who visited and enjoyed the Mardi Gras, sometimes you can't walk into a place, but you know how to go behind a tree. And a good woman always brings something in her bag, okay?
I love
I
it.
can tell you one thing, I've never had to raise it up, but I've had to take it down.
I love seeing this side of you, and I know others are going to appreciate that too. Donna Brazile, it's really great to meet you and great to talk to you. And thank you for sharing your Mardi Gras memory with us and helping us keep the spirit of Mardi Gras alive. And I hope to do this again soon sometime.
Happy Mardi Gras to you, and happy Mardi Gras to all of the wonderful people in my beloved New Orleans. Thank you so much.
Happy Mardi Gras.